Black Sabbath, Black Sabbath. Just stay. Yes, it will. And all right. It's been a while. Random rockers, since I can, well, properly say that instead of Schmodown rockers, I guess. And yeah, I decided to quit procrastinating. And it took, well, effed up circumstances to finally, like, push me to do it. And plus, it's getting too far close to the end of the year, so I really got to cram some stuff. Oof. That I didn't think I'd have to cram. Hopefully there's no surprise stuff in December, or in any time. Well, I could still manage that with the other stuff, but for now, some priorities I have to do, and one priority I should have just not put off at all. Like, at all. Because I wanted to do something special, but it turns out maybe I can't. At least not the way I wanted to. Because, well, I'm not saying I won't do it. It's just not in the way I wanted to do it. For now. And that'll be the paranoid review when we get to it. Because my initial plan I wanted to do was to also do the review while doing that. And honestly, that's some multitasking I realize I cannot do. And some circumstances of, do I really want to need to put her on camera for this? I mean, I'm still thinking about doing it anyway, but whether or not if I should make it public or enlist it, or if I can even put it to camera, if at all possible. You know, with someone who has other priorities, like trying not to make my sister upset with how she's been doing in school. So, but anyways, we're not talking about that. We're talking about the self-titled debut that came out literally about 50 years. To think, 50 years. 50 years. Ozzy's had a career. Yeah. 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 50 years. Well, at least it's one of the albums that is in its 50th anniversary. So, yeah. And, this album definitely is the roots of the band, and of course a lot of their music they had started with before they did this was more in British blues. They had some more American leaning stuff. It was clearly more in the Doors or Hendrix, of the more psychedelic variety of blues, especially from an artist that wound up going to Britain, learning some more British blues stuff, and then going back to Seattle and going back to America and making something of himself. This is, of course, all prior to Black Sabbath's and prior to that, Led Zeppelin was a thing. Heck, Led Zeppelin 4 is celebrating its 50th, but good luck putting that on YouTube without the music, you know? Of course, I can't say much myself. I'm not as much a Zeppelin fan as I would say I'm a Sabbath. But, point being, speaking of Thy Reason in The Smasher, this coming, and why I need to do this video sooner anyway, even though I wish I would have done it for the Paranoid one, but it's coming. Still have Schmodown Rocks coming up. May as well just fill the updates in before I even start this thing off proper. Anyways, as far as I'm concerned, the thing you need to worry about for this man is the Smetsathon. It's actually its own little channel thing, and it will be a 24-hour thing starting sometime within Saturday, going into Sunday, the entire weekend. And it's all the reactors involved within the Schmodown, or at least more so ones that are probably more properly acknowledged by that of those within the Action Army and the Gucci verse. So that's probably not including me. So. But I'll make my presence. But I'm definitely going to be involved, make my presence known in some capacity. Wait and see. I will have a link in the description below to at least to both the more so, I believe, to at least the channels to where you can at least that way still see it, though I don't believe there's a link yet for the actual stream that will happen on that channel. But yes, it will be there. I don't, or it's the Smashathon as it will be called. I don't know why I said I think we said Smashathon, but then stuck with Smashathon. It just made more sense since Smash Cancer, even though there's a legit group somewhere in Utah or something, or is it Wyoming or Maine or one of the more lesser known states that nobody in this country gives a dang about, I guess. Weirdly enough, apparently, I Googled it. Seriously. You can Google it too. I mean, but just know that this is the hashtag that matters. And if that place is actually a good donation over there, then go ahead and donate there too. But I'm not sponsoring that. I'm sponsoring what this is. So, yeah, I guess that's what's going on. And I guess on with the actual self-titled review. This album, I mean, every album is good, and every person who has listened to a Sabbath album, even Ozzy era or onward, even more so within the Ozzy era, the foundation of this band, of course, consisting of Geezer Butler and whatnot, and I believe it was either, I think it was before this. Clearly, this album was even released, since it was a very Birmingham, England, and this was quite an industrial town. Apparently, at the time, given this taking place post World War II, and a lot of that definitely seeped into a lot of what their music was, or at least their particular brand of British blues, that took a lot from the likes of Zeppelin and Cream, more so or less, but eventually did seem to showcase some Doors and eventually some Hendrix, more so through Tony Iommi's guitar tone, more so through the main lead singles, those being the self-titled and NIB, Nativity in Black, also meaning Nativity in Black. And those tracks are definitely good, and no, I do not know NIB at the current moment. I should, but here we are. And this, of course, a solid album, and a solid as being its first album. Granted, a lot of it's more British blues, or that particular more blues rock oriented style, sort of jazzy in place to an extent that's borderline psychedelic, but I don't believe they will go full. They won't explore that until a little further in Paranoid, but don't really fully explore it in even a more spacey, trippier type of way, or at least that stonery sort of, or at least the feel in the sense that originates both the stoner rock and metal, or even desert rock for that matter, within the likes of what would be of Masters of Reality. Eventually I'll get to Masters of Reality, because I have a feeling I'll probably like that album as a whole after. And for now, the album itself is there, and for that being what it is, it's pretty dang good. Especially with your 1-2 punch of the opening, the band album / album title track, that is Black Sabbath. And which, of course, as I tried to allude to with the opening riff, and the follow-up album, the follow-up track being Wizard, the 1-2 punch of that, the second one being definitely more harmonica driven. I'm wondering if their harmonica is Ozzy, hopefully. And it's which is done pretty well, and his little and that harmonica solo is done pretty well. But you can definitely tell a lot of what Zeppelin was doing within those first three albums leading up to four were definitely a bit of an influence on this band, and just as much as what Cream was doing, which I've already said before, possibly even Mountain for that matter. Who knows if Blue Cheer had anything to do with it? But I think Mountain and Blue Cheer way more on the American side than them. But and with what I can remember, there's which Rick Beato has a thing. You should go Google that and check it out. But the this album is damn good. It's damn solid as of course, and a classic in and of itself. I mean, 50-year celebration. And yeah, I've been pretty much enjoyed this album. From start to finish, I will say it's instrumental. Some deeper cuts in comparison to later albums does leave a little bit to be desired. Though the basically part is great and definitely goes smoothly into Nativity in Black, NIB. And, which, by the way, speaking of that, in case you didn't already know about the cover that Primus did with Ozzy, check that out. I like it. It may not do much to reinventing the wheel, though I think after that is when Primus did start to take a nosedive to a lot of people musically, or at least people weren't as interested in them by that point, especially when they decided, given that by that point they decided to stop using the model of We Suck. Because by that point, not a lot of people thought they sucked. Even though their discography at that point might say otherwise, or at least be a lot more miss than hit. But I'm just paraphrasing more so than actually giving you the facts. But, as far as Primus, and a lot of these tracks some of the tracks are pretty good for what they are. And it's definitely the closing track of Warning is pretty good. Good just as well. Basically, mostly those tracks are the ones that do stand out and what most people will say will stand out the most on this album. And given I think those were the only singles. The other tracks that are deep cuts are fine, but they're mostly instrumental and nobody really talks about those tracks nearly as much as the other ones. And I understand if some people want to put this in terms of the Ozzy album release not super high, but are willing to put it high enough to clearly acknowledge its existence and what it did establish via the title track and NIB more so or less, which would lead into what they would release in Paranoid later in that year. Either way, I did have fun with this record enough to definitely, understandably, give it what it does deserve in it being the Horns Up, which is a lot of Black Sabbath anyway, in general, up to a point at least, even though I've told Never Say Die is but eventually I'll have to get to that. I don't know. I'm kind of leery from after what Rock had to say about that album, but and the band themselves, jeez. But which, given that is the last Ozzy record, I probably would understand it. I just hope there is some songs that are probably hopefully on there that are salvageable, but I can't remember what they were. I'll figure it out later. I have a best of set that I've had to rely on for years, and that's most of what I knew anyway for a while. And I do regret not having listened to Paranoid itself. So. But overall, like I said, Horns Up, it is definitely deserved of being a masterclass record, even for being a great debut that is of a band that started off as British blues, which, by the way, the whole Tony Iommi thing is pretty cool in and of itself. And his tone, Beato talks about it, and they also did something on Eddie Van Halen recently after his passing. That's really good. You should check out as well. And yeah, overall, it's so far Black Sabbath's remained an enjoyable experience, even though I do think they are definitely for those who are starting to go into the vinyl craze lately, go back to these albums and do that. Oh, I probably need to do that myself because Apparently these other remasters are kind of, Then again, I don't even know if the remasters of the Black Sabbath albums later are that good and we're talking about. So I don't know. I don't know, but I mean, Smash will probably recommend the follow-up album I'll eventually talk about himself. Whether not entirely sure about Kaiser's thoughts, but he likes anything they do, so you know he'll say the horns and masterclass all the way, without having to bat an eye or even bother to talk about it, unless he's in the mood. But that's the other Dungeon Master for you on that regard. But yes. And what did you guys think of these? If you guys have listened to it yet, I'd say go bother to check it out if you haven't had a chance. I wouldn't say it's a good starting point in terms of the band's discography necessarily, but it's not. But then again, it's not a terrible recommendation either. And most of the early Sabbath days, you can't really complain about anyway, and or at least not enough to warrant a bad review for me, I guess. So, if you liked what I had to say, would you like this video, leave. Want to add anything that maybe I wasn't able to add proper, like I should have, leave a comment below. Let me know. And be polite about it. No one likes a negative Nancy. I already deal with that enough on my own. But overall, yeah. But and then leave a comment below. Hit that, rock that subscribe button. Click that notification bell, just so you can be able to get all my videos at the very least. Hit that like button, or rock that like button with thrust if you must. Also, link in the description. Also, I do also have a link in the description for his GoFundMe page. Anyway, if you're not able to do the Smash-a-thon, I believe that GoFundMe page is still up. Links should be in the description below. I've made sure of that for every other video since the last Shred on Rocks, so that should at least still be there as well. And I also and it's also not the first person I'm dealing with. I also know someone I know from school, that I used to know from high school, or at least just from school in general, since grade school really, that wound up also in a similar situation to Smash, except the difference is it's not colon, it's unfortunately for her, it is breast cancer, and she apparently had a heart because of, I guess, having this, or at least finding out in diagnosis literally after just having had her baby that she had it. And it's just sad, but look up Kelsey's Crew. There's a Facebook group. I may or may not leave a link in the description below. I don't know if I should, with that one at least, as opposed to the Smash Cancer thing. So, but it's if you want to know, ask me in there, and I will tell you. And speaking of that, I need to tell Smash he's not the only person out there. At least before he sees this video. Anyways, and that should be it, guys. Hopefully I'll have this uploaded by Thursday, so you guys at least see it before then, so you all are ready for the Smash-a-thon. Next week, I'll try to be involved with that as much as I can, even though I'm going to have to deal with both hunting and a birthday in the evening. So I'll find a way to, at the very least, find out when it happens and then give the money when I can. I wanted to start, hopefully it's not, I don't know when it starts, but I know it's dealing with that, and then the Schmodown. I'm going to have to at least record, then aside from this, I'm going to have to record the next thing. But anyways, the next Schmodown Rocks before that throwdown happens, so I don't spoil anything, knowing my luck. But anyways, that's about it, guys. What did you think? Like I said, link description below. As always, guys, keep it random, keep it real, keep it rocking, and I'll see you in the next video, whatever that may be, or entail, or whatever. Take care, y'all. Smash Cancer. Hashtag Kelsey's Crew. And Karen's Army, and so on and so forth. See you.